非常高兴有这个机会来到 Capital Link 跟大家见面。Good afternoon, my name is Huay, and I'm a partner with Stephenson Harwood. I'm delighted to be here today, and many thanks to Capital Link and Nicholas for the opportunity. Today, we are discussing the topic, capital raising for international shipowners. And joining me, I have a great panel today who will offer insights from the shipowners and advisory perspectives. The panelists are Mr. Alexis Stephanou, Chief Financial Officer of Goldenport, Mr. Berlin Lee, the Managing Partner of HIT Marine, Mr. Gautam Khurana, the Chief Financial Officer of Precious Shipping Public Company Limited, Mr. Stavros Gyftakis, Chief Financial Officer of Seanergy Maritime Holdings Corporation, Mr. George Xiradakis, Founder of XRTC Business Consultants Limited, Vice President of Hellenic Chinese Chamber of Commerce, and President, Association of Banking and Financial Executives of Hellenic Shipping. So it is an interesting topic that we are tasked with today, because compared to the backdrop of, let's say, 10 years ago, the financing market is far more diverse these days, as everyone would agree, I'm sure, and with many more options available for shipowners. But at the same time, against the backdrop of regulatory and other factors, I think there are still certain challenges in terms of matching up these products with the needs and expectations of shipowners. So perhaps this is a good time for us to invite our shipowners to maybe give a small introduction about the companies they represent, give a state of play about the fleets they are financing, as well as maybe a quick outline of the strategies, financing strategies for the next 12 to 18 months. Alexis, if you don't mind.
Many thanks, distinguished guests. Nicholas, glad to be here after 4 years. So my name is Alexis Stephanou. I'm the CFO of Goldenport Group. It's a diversified group active in dry bulk, tankers, container ships, and LPG shipping out of Athens. The group was founded by Captain Paris Dragnis 40 years ago. In the last decade, it's been run by his son, John Dragnis, and I have also joined Goldenport 10 years ago. Before that, I spent 15 years doing investment banking, privatization work, mergers, acquisitions, capital raising for shipping companies, as well as financial institutions and energy companies. And our group has two holding companies, one for dry bulk and container ships, and another for product tankers and LPG. And in terms of funding sources, sources of financing, apart from traditional bank debt, we initiated our foray into Asia with ICBC 4 years ago. We financed 3 bulk carriers with them. And more recently, we have also tapped Japanese leasing for 1 dry bulk carrier and 1 product tanker with the 2 separate counterparties.
Thank you. Gautam?
Yeah, thanks, Huay. So first of all, it's great to be here after 4 years, so thank you for the invitation. So I represent a company called Precious Shipping Public Company Limited. We were founded in 1989. We've been listed on the Stock Exchange of Thailand since 1993. We own 38 ships, split between Supramax, Ultramax, and Handysize, and we also own 4 large cement carriers, double-hull cement carriers. We are a traditional ship owner in that we do all our technical, commercial management in-house. We also have an in-house training institute in Bangkok. So in terms of financing, so we're a bit traditional. Most of our financing is from banks, although we also tap the bond markets in Thailand. So in terms of strategy, financing strategy going forward, I would say it's at least in the current sort of 12 to 18 months, our focus is on reducing our cash break-even, extending our maturities, and also potentially issuing a bond. So given the backdrop of a potential weaker macro environment next year, potentially. So I'll leave it there.
Thanks, Gautam. Stavros?
Good afternoon, everybody. It's very good to be back in Shanghai, participating physically in the Capital Link. Nicole, I think last time we did a Capital Link together in Shanghai, it was a webinar. So it's good to be amongst old friends and meet some new friends here in Shanghai. My name is Stavros Gyftakis. I am the CFO of Seanergy Maritime and United Maritime. Seanergy Maritime is the flagship company of the group. We are the only pure-play Cape-size owner and operator listed in US stock exchanges, whereas United is our spin-off company, which we created almost a year ago, a bit more than a year ago, to take advantage of opportunities across sectors, so to diversify a bit. Amongst the two companies, we count around 25 vessels and over 4 million deadweight. In terms of financing, our mix comprises traditional bank debt and sale and leaseback arrangements, mainly sourced from Asia, China, and Japan. So although diversifying our financing means is not an aim in itself, we place great value in working with lenders who understand our business, understand the need of our business, are committed and are there to support Seanergy throughout the cycles.
Great, thank you. Berlin, so in your role, what have you actually been seeing in terms of trends these days for international ship owners?
Right, thanks, Huay. Before I start, I really want to congratulate Nicholas and the Capital Link team. Congratulations on coming back successfully to Shanghai after 4 years hiatus. So a little bit about HIT Marine, I guess. So the company was founded by my father in 2001. So traditionally, it has been a new building shipbroker, but we've been quite active on ship finance side over the past 2-3 years. So I wish to add some colors to this discussion from a ranger and Chinese lessors perspective. So in terms of what the Chinese lessors been busy, I would say for the past 12 months, we've seen a lot of inquiries on new buildings, given the fact we've seen a phenomenal number of new building orders being placed in China or worldwide over the past 2 years. So in terms of types of assets, as we all know, Chinese lessors always prefer more liquid and standardized types of ships. So it is actually safe to say some tankers or gas carriers with long-term employment are the most popular assets for now, followed by dry bulk and container ships. For container ships, I think we need to see either a very strong balance sheet or a long-term TC against the AAA account name in order to achieve higher LTV. Otherwise, I think we are talking about 50 to 60%. It's also worth noting that we've seen a lot of interest from Chinese lessors in the PCTC sector, the rural carrier, since the market has undergone some structural changes boosted by the huge increase of export from China. In fact, China has become one of the world's largest EV manufacturers and has just surpassed Japan as the largest car exporter. If we stand on the street in Shanghai, you see all those cars with the green license plates, they are EVs. So you'll easily notice the penetration of EVs in China these days. Otherwise, for the offshore segment, very quick comment is that we are seeing very limited interest for now. I think the appetite remains subdued, although the market is coming back strongly after such a long period of depression. So with that being said, I think it's likely that we'll see more interest from Chinese leasing in the next 12 months. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Berlin. George, you had a really interesting opening discussion from the financing perspective. Did you have any views on the ship owner perspective, perhaps mostly on the Greek ship owners and what they're seeing in terms of appetite and trends these days in the financing space?
Yeah, thank you very much. I'm not going to repeat the thanks to everybody for this wonderful conference. I want to say thanks to everybody that you attend the conference, and that you are happy to listen to this Sino-Hellenic panels, because in each panel there are some Greeks, and this shows as well the connection between the two nations. I can really say a few things about what you asked me. particularly because I feel that being a Greek, I represent and I serve what we call the supermarket of the world of shipping, because in Greece we have everything in terms, everything that is floating. There is any shipowner, every shipowner that has different assets, has different needs and different requirements, and this is how I call Greek shipping as a supermarket. At this very moment, what the market is, and having myself the characteristic of being an intermediate, not an intermediate, actually working with financial institutions that they want to serve the Greek shipping market, interpreting as well several times the Chinese mentality in the Greek market. I want to say that at this very moment, the Greeks, they do not look only for a cheap financing. They do not look only for a financing that has an increased rate of financing. They need a sustainable financing. They need a partner that they will see that the same people that they're talking, they will be there tomorrow, and the same banks, that the financial institutions that they are with, they are gonna stay next to them in order to decide together about the next steps of shipping. This is the crucial point of what is happening in our market now. Don't forget that in principle, if I might say, in principle, when we have a successful shipping, what it means, you have a successful couple between the one that is taking the risk and the other that is giving the money to take the risk, the first one. Therefore, it is the bank and the financier and the owner. And I think that in this very challenging environment that it was described with the previous panel before, and of course with over here, is that this is what we are looking for in a very, very difficult period of the Chinese shipping market that is having a second round of transformation. The first being, allow me to say that I was one of the pioneers in Chinese shipping activities. Most of the old people that they are here, they remember me being a young person talking about the capacity of China and how China has to lead the shipping financing. And nobody understood what was shipping financing in 2003 or 2004 or 2007 or 2008. And I will remind you that the first financing that we did bilateral between CDB and the Greek shipowner, it took us about approximately 17 months. Now, the good thing is that either Stavros or Berlin or Alexis or Gautam is calling his client, his banker, and in fact he has at least a preliminary indication whether he can do something or he cannot. This is where we reach. The first transformation of the shipping finance market in China, it was the transformation from the mortgage lending to the leasing structures of 2013 to 16 and then onwards. And now we are going back to different models, and this is the challenging for the market and of all of us being here. And I think that the foreign shipowners, not limited to the Greek shipowners, they have to understand that that China has become another smaller but still big supermarket for financing. And this is very challenging for the next questions that we are going to have and we are going to discuss, all of us here.
Sorry, if I may add to what George just said.
You see, interactiveness, the commands.
Love it. Very good.
This is the
It's
nice
not,
thing, because
it's not only a matter of...
We are not supposed to stay here just to say whether we know very well our poem or whatever. We have to discuss loudly, and actually, if I may help you, assist you, I mean, we will encourage you as well to participate in our discussion, because otherwise we can stay the five of us, and we have a wonderful lady, and we can be somewhere quiet and have some drinks to discuss. Therefore, all together, you must participate. Thank you.
So it's not only a matter of consistency. So we need, as George said, to know that the same people will be there to support the business and to extend the next and the financing after the previous one that we had. but it's also a matter of adaptability. It's very important for the local lenders to adapt to the changing market conditions. You know, ship finance is it's like a journey, and you need to be creative. I mean, you will face rough seas, you will face calm seas. You need to look around to see what's changing, and then adapt, adjust the product that you're offering, and be there for the client, depending on the needs of the company.
If I can just add to that in the spirit of being interactive, yes. So I think, as you know, when we look at financiers, for us, a financier is a business partner who's been with us through all the different cycles. So in our case, our oldest financier has actually been with us, has been financing us for about 35 years. That's key. So I think financiers who just look at financing as a transaction is not somebody that we're very keen on. For us, it's a long-term business partnership, given the volatility in the industry.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that really resonates about the shipping industry as a whole. It's always about long-term relationships. I think just an observation from our end as well was that the sustainability and resilience of the ship financing market was quite interesting, particularly in recent times with the Chinese lessors stepping in when some of the banks have retreated. And also, I think what was also very interesting is at the time of the pandemic, there were new lessors that have entered the market, which really speaks to the resilience of the financing market in China and also globally as well. But this leads on to my next topic that I'm hoping to explore really was about the point about options, the different options available to ship owners these days. So I think we've touched on traditional bank debt. It's almost as if traditional is not a nice word anymore, but bank debt as was the default for such a long time. You know, we're talking about maybe 50% leverage, maybe up to 60%. And then we've got the Asian sale and leasebacks that could offer up to even 95% in certain areas. And then we also have the Japanese operating leases. We've seen a lot of those these days that can come up to 100%. So there are a lot of options. I was hoping to kind of talk about what the ship owners, your approach in actually dealing with these different options. I think we've talked about long-term partnerships. Was there anything else that you would have to consider when you are evaluating all these different options? Alexis?
Many thanks. Look, the discussions with and the choices, there are plenty of choices around. I think the ship owners nowadays and coming out of COVID and I mean a super strong container market and a strong and now very strong dry bulk and tanker market especially. For us, it has been a period during which we have been repaying and prepaying a lot of debt. Half of our our fleet comprises 45 vessels currently. About half of them are debt-free. And for us, in an environment of higher interest rates, the cash break-even is particularly important. So we're not looking to maximize leverage on our fleet. We're more focused on the cost, the all-in cost. And we can come back to that later. So, also in our discussions with the Chinese lessors and also notably with ICBC a few years ago, the objective was not to maximize leverage. It was to be more conservative on the leverage side, but focus on the cost, the all-in cost of the transaction. So we'd rather do 70% LTV and have a lower risk transaction for all sides and ensure that through the cycle this can perform even if there's a sharp downturn, rather than maximize leverage and then have more difficult discussions if there is a downturn that comes.
Thank you. Stavros, did you have anything to add? I guess from Seanergy's perspective, you've got a real diversified portfolio of financing options that you've have experience of.
Yeah, I think, for us, it's a trade-off between competitively priced transaction and financial flexibility. And also, because the volatility is an inherent risk of the Capesize market, we also place value in having as manageable break-evens as we can, And this you can achieve mainly by extending the profiles of the loans and the financing as much as possible in the underlying terms. This is also very relevant when looking at the upcoming environmental regulations and the view that we're taking as a company, whereby we're basically investing in making the vessels more efficiently, and we take a more of a full life cycle approach on our assets. We want to see them being out there and earning until the end of their economic life. So for us, it's mainly long tenors, long profiles, and low break-evens.
Brilliant, thank you. And Gautam, I guess from Precious's perspective, it's always worked very well for Precious to have long-term partners in the banks, isn't it? So there's no real, I think from your perspective, it works, so there's no real need to diversify your financing options at this point?
So yes and no. I think over the last couple of years, we have seen developmental banks, so the likes of International Finance Corporation and ADB, they've had quite an increased appetite in shipping, and we've done transactions with them, and they share the value systems that we have internally in terms of focus on ESG, and to an extent we are rewarded. In the case of IFC, we've been required to implement certain performance standards, which has made us, I would say, a better organization, a more sustainable organization. So,
Great. Berlin, did you have anything to add on this topic?
Yeah, of course. So as the arranger and the biggest promoter of Chinese leasing, I would certainly have a lot of faith in the advantages, of Chinese leasing compared with other sources of financing. Taking JOCO as an example, I think Chinese leasing are just way more flexible in terms of giving earlier purchase options with less fees. And it is generally quicker to conclude with Chinese leasing, which typically takes 1 or 2 months and can be even quicker for a repeating client. If comparing with Western or conventional banks, I think Chinese leasing is known to be more friendly to provide relatively higher LTV and also there to support older tonnage. And also there's another main source of financing coming from the alternative financiers, US and European debt fund. If comparing with those guys, I would say Chinese leasing are way more competitive in terms of cost. There are 25 leasing houses these days can do US dollars financing. I would say their typical range of margin typically ranges between 200 to 400 bips. While comparing with all those alternative financiers, their ranges are between 400 to 600 bips. You will see Chinese leasing are way more competitive in terms of cost. And a lot of them can now consider non-recourse finance as well. So that provides another way, like bigger room to cooperate. So one of the main obstacles while we are promoting Chinese leasing to a lot of Western owners these days is that some owners, and especially those family-owned traditional owners, they still feel reluctant about ideas of giving their title away to Chinese leasing. They feel like they are giving their babies away. But in reality, for anyone having dealt with Chinese leasing in the past, they know this is only a nominal transfer of title. And also, dealing with Chinese leasing, a sale-leaseback transaction is as simple, as smooth as a conventional bank loan. So hopefully with the reopening of China and a lot of meetings like Capital Link going on, we can eliminate those unnecessary concerns and worries about Chinese leasing.
That's interesting. Thank you, Berlin. Of course, George.
Wait, just a second. Berlin, I have to, first of all, to say that I fully agree with you with what you said. And certainly if you compare with what was happening in the past, with what is happening now with the leasing companies, this is really very challenging. In any case, we have also to appreciate that when we're talking about a private company or even a listed company that needs to have some assets with them, they need to have the ownership in certain cases. This is something that we cannot overpass it by 100% and then we will move all the assets to leasing as it happened. Of course, you can tell me that this happened again in the past in Japan, and this is that is the characteristic of the market. And at the end of the day, don't forget that the Japanese leasing came back again internationally the last few years because it was disappeared in order to serve the local market. And this is something that, the experience that the market has regarding the path of the leasing companies throughout the decades sometimes justifies the hesitation of many of the shipowners to give all their assets to leasing. And I can tell you that this exists. I mean, this feeling exists, in particular exists in the Greek shipping market. We have to encourage at the same time, allow me myself being more global and having this role as well as the president of an association of financiers. We have to also encourage the traditional mortgage lending that exists worldwide. And we have as well to call for the international banks to come over again and to come back as well, together with the Chinese banks, that it seems now to me that we have certain signs of a recovery of the mortgage loan in the in the Chinese finance market. And this is going to help as well the improvement of the market vis-a-vis the leasing and the other alternatives, as I said in my speech, about the use of the securities, commodities, bonds in different types. And we will see a great improvement of our market. One thing that we have to notice, however, and we have at least to have it as an outcome from this nice conversation and nice conference that we have here of Bornoz's family, is the elimination of the role of the hundreds of the numerous number of brokers that in fact, in a sense, destroyed the market, or at least affected the reputation of the Chinese market in the last decade. Now we have seen less individuals pretend that they are a broker, you know, going around and knocking the door of the shipping clients worldwide. Or we've seen, for instance, a better professionalism. And this justifies what exactly you said about the capacity and the capability of the leasing structures, of the leasing companies.
Yeah. Just quickly respond to George's comment. Yeah, first point is I totally agree. I think the diversification is very important. So I think for any shipowners, you don't have to go all in Chinese leasing. Actually, I do have 1 or 2 clients. They are pretty much like all in Chinese leasing for now. But I think for the majority of the clients, it's better just keep a balanced portfolio, like diversified portfolio, so that you don't really miss anything. What if you have a better option here in China? Well, sometimes you may have a better option with a Western conventional bank. And second thing, yes, Chinese leasing obviously has been through a reshuffling period of time for the past 2-3 years. But one thing for sure is we're all coming here today, sitting here today, and meeting all the leasing houses, and some they emerged during the COVID, as Huay just mentioned. But I think collectively the Chinese leasing is just getting stronger as ever. That's for sure. And hopefully, everybody can find a solution here. Thank you.
Oh, that's brilliant. I mean, I think the takeaway from all of that must be that it's a great time to be a ship owner these days, because there's so many options for financing available compared to before. But I just wanted to since we have the luxury of having 2 listed companies on this panel, I just wanted to touch very quickly about your experience with assessing capital on the capital markets. So Gautam and Stavros, how has that worked? I mean, for one thing about shipping as an industry, we must look more attractive to other industries, for example, aviation, so that helps attract liquidity to the market, to the industry. How has that been for the company itself? Gautam?
So that's been, of course, that's a source of strength for us, but it's not something that we have used very much. Since our listing in 1993, we have done secondary offerings just twice. But we are confident that if there is a need, then our shareholders will support us. And the reason for that is because if you are an investor in our stock at the IPO in 1993, and if you held on to our stock until today, you reinvested all the dividends back into our stock, you would have got a 16% compounded annual return. So our shareholders have been rewarded quite well. So yeah, I expect they will support us.
Excellent. Stavros?
Yeah, for Seanergy, historically, the capital markets have been the growth engine, I would say. We have raised around 250 million since I joined the company back in 2017, with the good support also of Nicholas and Capital Link, who is responsible for our investor relations activities in New York. The last offering that we did was back in February 2021. The market was far better than it is today in terms of liquidity and valuation. The last offering we concluded at a valuation almost 2.5 times our NAV. Now today, unfortunately, the valuation market is not there. Most of the dry bulk names trade at discounts between 10 and 50%. However, we see that the investors do see the value proposition because balance sheets are much more healthy than they used to be. Companies tend to return capital to the shareholders either in the form of dividends or share buybacks. And we think that the capital markets are there to play a role when the valuation returns and the liquidity is better, which has also to do with the interest rate environment. And the capital markets are there to play a role, especially in replacing vessels in view of the decarbonization strategy of the sector. However, the time is not now, but this time will come.
Sure.
May I add, because I have this, I'm always in the board of international listed companies. At this period, I mean, with the Imperial and the C3IS of Vafias Group. One thing that we must say, and of course here we have an excellent example of Seanergy, and you heard before that the boss of Stavros, I mean, describing so nicely the challenges of the market. One thing that we have now in front of us is a market that nominates or leads the way that how it's going to be the shipping market of the future. If you go and read what the listed companies, the Greek listed companies are at this, not only the Greek, but the international listed companies that they are in the stock exchanges, particularly in the States, that they are governed by CSCC, by GAP, with all these requirements, then we will see how the market is moving. And the market is moving towards a more sophisticated and more financiable basis, meaning that everyone has to see the sustainable use of money. The sustainable use of money. It is not just because I'm buying something and I'm having for the first 3 months a very nice cash flow and I have a good return. And we need to have it for a medium to long term, and we have to justify everything to our investors. And this is the merit of, as Stavros correctly said, of balancing the indices with the use of funding and, of course, with the bets that they're going to come and, to meet the challenges of the future. And in order to do this, you have to be sustainable, you have to be absolutely transparent, and you have to work directly as a company with the investors and with the financiers, having, of course, a proper investment relationship personalities as Capital Link and many others that exist even here in China and everywhere in the world.
Brilliant. Thank you so much. So the next thing I really wanted to talk about was green shipping. So we had a great panel on this earlier, and it's really highlighted the urgency and that is the forefront on everybody's minds. It's also very clear that the one size doesn't fit all. There are many ways to skin a cat. So every shipowner will have their own priorities to achieve their green ambitions. So for our panel, perhaps we can explore how the financiers can help shipowners achieve their goals in maritime decarbonization. Alexis?
Right. So, look, let me be a little bit provocative here. So, in my view, decarbonization is not going to happen because our financiers are going to offer us, 10, 20, 25 basis points lower margin for a new building project. the key for decarbonization is the support from our charterers. And the charterers need to put their money where their mouth is. So instead of talking a lot about decarbonization, they actually need to be prepared to commit to spend money and support the ship owners in that regard. So it is important that for us as ship owners, in order to proceed with these large additional incremental investments, that we have the support of the charters and that they agree to a higher charter rate, be prepared to enter into a long-term charter agreement. And during the life of this charter agreement, that a large part, if not the entirety of the incremental investment is recovered. I think that is the crucial point here.
Thank you. Thanks, Alexis. Gautam, I think clearly Precious takes green shipping very seriously. I think on that, congratulations on being recognized as the outstanding climate action leading organization in Thailand for commitment to greenhouse gas management. So on that, I think you've mentioned the development banks actually being quite ahead of the curve in this respect. But do you think the financiers can do more to support ship owners in this respect?
A very nice question.
So, well, okay, of course, I'd like them to do more, but debt financiers, so what we're really taking, the major steps that are required to decarbonize, let's say, for instance, we looked at building a methanol dual fuel bulk carrier, and like Alexis, we saw that there was actually limited support from the charterers, from the major charterers. But of course, if financiers are able to share that risk with us, build something for the future, I actually become equity providers, take some risk in that respect, that'll be a very good, that'll be very helpful.
Great. Stavros?
Yeah, sure. So when it comes to decarbonization, there are really two pathways that the industry can take. One is the most capital intensive, and this is new buildings, but it's also more emissions intensive because building a new ship means very heavy CO2 emissions through the process of construction, through the construction process. And the other, which is what we're favoring at Seanergy more, is basically investing in making the existing ships more efficient. There are sectors, such as the Capesize sector, whereby we will have to live with the existing fleet for many years to come, for various reasons, be it limited yard slot availability, be it that it doesn't make economic sense to order now new buildings, as Stamati said in the previous panel. So basically, the role of the financiers is very important in both pathways. On the new buildings, of course, financing new buildings, when the time is right, we expect our banks and the export-import agencies to play a very important role. But now when it comes to existing vessel, you have retrofit financing that they can extend. You have sustainability-linked loans, but meaningful sustainability-linked loans with a significant incentive on the pricing side, which can potentially finance part of the retrofit. And also what I said before, I mean, extending the profiles and the terms of the facilities. Actually, as Seanergy, we have taken the view that every financing that we do now, we want it to run until the end of the useful economic life of the assets. We do not want to refinance the vessels again and again. So we're mainly doing business with lessors or banks who can see their profiles being extended until the vessels become 21, 22 years of age.
Sure.
Because a lot of things, I don't want to repeat what my predecessor said, but even what it was discussed before or what is being discussed, generally speaking, about the decarbonization. One thing that we must know is that this headache of meeting the decarbonization and the environmental requirements, either through the compliance of the ESG terms, either through the compliance of the Poseidon principle that exists in the market, or the compliance with the environmentalists of the European Union and the European Union as itself. The shipping companies at this moment, they are obliged to have a very good partner in terms of the legal partner and another very good partner in the auditing. Because it is not easy to follow all this abbreviation that exists, whether it is the CII, whether it is the EU ETC, whether there are TCI, TCB, TCC, TCC, etc., etc. We are all obliged to show that we are sustainable in this term. It is to show that there is in the brain of and in the strategy of each company the wish to move towards the targets that have been set by the international fora. Having said that, however, I have to open the door for great business for the financiers, and the big challenge that the financiers have in front of them is how to finance the first type of vessels that they are going to be really greener or green, or at least greener, that are going to be the ships that they are calling often the ports, like the service ships at the beginning of the port, in the port industry. Secondly, the passenger market that they are going daily or hourly, and they are calling the ports, they are on the shore. And the whole coast short sea shipping that exists both in China, in Europe, in Asia, everywhere. And this is the real challenge, and this is how they are going to start. We are going to start having the examples in the world of shipping.
Great, thank you. We've run out of time, unfortunately. Clearly, we can talk about this all day, maybe over coffee, over drinks. But just so I can wrap up, perhaps the ship owners, given that we've got a room full of many financiers today, maybe you can just say in just one line, what would you expect from your financiers? If you get a term sheet today, what would you want to see? Alexis?
Look, I think we have covered most of this, but I think essentially we're looking for attractive margin and extended profiles. I think those are the key parameters that we're looking for.
Gautam?
So long profiles, and given where we are in the cycle, I would say light governance on value maintenance clause.
Excellent. Stavros?
Yeah, I agree. I mean, financial flexibility in terms of realistic covenants and then longer profiles coupled with competitive pricing, which reflects also the current interest rate environment.
Do you want any grant?
Whatever you can bring us, George.
Brilliant. Thank you, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you for this wonderful coordination, and we really enjoyed it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you.